Howdy guys, how's it going? So it has finally come to time. We are going to be making our Perk-A-Cola replicas. Now this is something that has been done in the past by a handful of people, but it's normally done one of two ways. It's either consumable or non-consumable, and with the non-consumable option, people normally, make very nice looking bottles. They fill it full of water with food coloring and get it to the correct color to match whatever perk it is, and then they take and set it on a shelf with some lights, and it looks dope, it looks amazing. Then there's people who have made drinkable Perk-A-Colas, but normally their bottles are relatively off, and the drink recipes they put in them can be a bit complex to the point where it's somewhat unrealistic for most people to attempt to replicate it. So what I want to do was to kind of combine those two, make it to where these can be showpieces in and of themselves. The bottles are as close as I could get them to actually what they're supposed to look like, with a couple things that I'll point out whenever I cut to the part of the video where I'm going to be showing step by step everything from start to finish on how to select the bottle, clean the bottle, get your labels, print your labels, cut your labels, apply the labels, and all that good old stuff. So yeah, I'm probably going to take and go ahead and cut to that part of it, because you can't get to this part without getting past that. So that's going to roll, and then we will come right back to here.
So first things first, if you're making your perks, you gotta have a bottle to put it in. Now for this, I've done a lot of looking around. It was like I found a lot of bottles that was pretty close online, but none that really, took the cake for being close enough to what I like. So I just really dove in, took a good look at the perk bottles, and then once I had a good reference point for what I needed, I went to town, just started looking at glass bottles. I'm sure I looked crazy to the people working there, just picking up a bunch of glass, especially nowadays. I mean, I'd wash my hands, all that good old stuff, but I was picking up bottles and checking them out. And then I ended up coming across these right here, Bold Rock Hard Cider. Now these are alcoholic beverages, so that does kind of throw a bit of a monkey wrench into the situation for anybody who's underage, but I'm sure you can find plenty of other bottles. I'm sure there's a soda company out there. It's just this right here was the first thing I come across that was perfect, so that's what I went with. Now these right here were also great because they did not have paper style labels on them. They have this like clear plastic label, peeled off extremely easy, and it also left very little residue that I had to clean off later. Residue thing in mind, you do have to get that off. Now you can use Goo Gone. I'd say Goo Gone is probably going to be one of the most common things that people will use, or that you can use, and you probably have it like just laying around your house already. I did not, however. So I had acetone, and it's also known as nail polish remover. So nail polish remover, acetone, and that's what I ended up using. And what I done was I just used a paper towel. I would wet it with the acetone. I wore rubber gloves, and then I would just rub the bottle down on the outside, then either grab a new paper towel or fold the same paper towel over, wet it with acetone again, go over, scrub it, and then the only thing to be mindful of is if you're going up and down the bottle, some of that residue will kind of gunk up at the ends of wherever it is you're wiping. So just make sure that you end up going in a circular motion around the bottle near the very end whenever you're about to finish up cleaning off the residue. And after you've made sure all the residue's off, just kind of wipe around any crevices that may or may not be on the bottle. Like these, just like the actual perk bottles, have slight indentions below where it rounds off at the bottom of the neck, and then down to where it's like parallel on both sides. So I found that I'd go back and actually take some acetone and clean up and around that little lip, so to make sure that none of that gunk stayed there. The thing is, it's like once you actually have your labels scaled to size and everything, the just cleaning off the gunk from removing the stickers from the bottles is probably the most time consuming part of this. Like I said, after you get the labels and stuff sized. So I'm gonna have the labels to these bottles linked down in the description to a Google Doc that you can just copy or download or whatever, and then they'll be to the same scale as these. So as long as you're using 12-ounce glass bottles, the labels will be the same. And then you just use label paper, which I'll also have a link down in the description. Now I use the matte regular like label paper. The only downside of that is if the bottle does get wet, it can make the colors run, but I found I didn't do it in the actual production of the bottles for the video, but I found after the fact that you can actually strategically use water and run the colors to make the bottles have more of a worn look on the label themselves. After you take and have all the gunk off, it's basically time to go ahead and put your labels on. But before you can put your labels on, you got to print them, and then you got to cut them. So now, me personally, I was a little bit, I went overkill with the cutting process, and I made it a lot more fine than I needed to. It's like you don't want these things to be chunky and square and have rough edges, but I found by the time I got to my fourth and final label that I was able to go around the whole thing a lot quicker. And it wasn't because, you know, I'd done it 3 times already and I was kind of just honed in. It was just because you can achieve the exact same look without having to be extremely fine. It's almost better with this if you do take off, you know, a couple centimeters, well, not in centimeters, but a millimeter or two of material around the label itself that is a part of the label, because that actually kind of just helps it fit in. Because these was originally, like, if you cut them around the edge exactly to the T, it kind of overlapped that little lip thing that I was talking about, which, I mean, you can't really notice it unless you just go hardcore inspection on the bottles, but that's just something to take note of. Neck labels, that's a different story. So now with the neck labels, these was the hardest to find, and they're actually not the exact, they're not exactly right. Like, they're the closest thing. Like the Speed Cola one is a sleight of hand, the Juggernog is a Juggernaut. The double tap is a different symbol that's on the main label. I think the Quick Revive is actually correct. It's like the only one that is 100% right. But that's one of those things nobody's going to notice unless you point it out. So, you know, it doesn't hurt anything. And overall, I feel like it's it really ties the bottle together having that neck label on there. So I would rather have it like this than not have one at all. It was just impossible to find any that was already up to that standard, and I didn't feel like spending all the time trying to recreate these neck labels when there was already some out there that was perfectly capable of accomplishing what I was trying to accomplish. So now, after you got everything cut out, it is time to apply the labels to the bottles. Now, this is something that you want to be careful with, because if the label, like, I'm going to link the label paper that I'm using, and I assume that most all label paper is created the same. And this right here, once you stuck it to the bottle, I mean, it was stuck. If you try to remove it, it's going to rip, and it's going to leave its own residue on the bottle, so then you have to go back to square one, wiping it down. You're going to have to print new labels, cut new labels, all that good old stuff. So I recommend taking your time, applying it correctly. Make sure that you go very slow and smooth it out so you don't get any air bubbles or any wrinkles in the main label, because trust me, that's going to happen when you try to apply the neck label, and you don't want attention on your main label, and having your main label smooth and just look picture perfect. Like I said, it's going to take attention away from the wrinkly neck label, and people probably won't notice it. And then you can always kind of hide it with your hand. You know, you can wrap your hand around the neck of it. You ain't got to have people eyeballing the thing up close and personal too much if you're planning on using this for, I don't know, showing it off or in a video to your friends or whatever the case may be. But this is a very simple part of it. One thing that I did do whenever I was applying the neck label is I cut a little piece of paper and drew a line on it from the top of the lip on my Quick Revive bottle, which is the first one I've done, so that I could have a reference point for the neck label, and then it would line up as close as possible to all the other ones, so that the neck labels be even when you had these bad boys lined up. No, it went very smoothly. I wish there was a tip or trick I could tell you guys about making the neck label fit a lot better and making it to where it didn't have any wrinkles in it. All I could say is just experiment with it if you feel like you have the time and the patience, because I mean it will help your end product look even better. But it's one of those things, don't stress about it, because as you'll see by the end of this, it's hardly noticeable, and by the end of it, you'll be so amazed at just how awesome these things look that'll be the last thing in your mind. There you have it. That is the hardest part of all of this, is just sourcing your bottles, cleaning them up, getting your labels out, getting them scaled properly, printing them, cutting them, and applying them. I think applying them is actually the most stressful part, because it's like, if you mess that up, you're going to have to go back to square one with whatever bottle it is that you're working on. So just be sure to take your time and make sure you do that properly. Even have somebody hold the bottle for you if that is an option, because that'll just help make sure that the bottle doesn't move, that it's stabilized, and you won't have to go back and redo work you've already done. Now, at this point, you probably can't see my beautiful face, so I'm sorry about that. But anyways, that's how you make the bottles themselves. You got the labels on them. Everything's good to go. So now it's time to come to actually making the beverage itself. Now, in order to do that, the tools we're going to be working with, we'll call this a tool,
is we're actually going to be making these alcoholic. You can make them non-alcoholic, the exact same method, just all you got to do is skip adding this stuff right here. So I wanted to get some authentic Russian vodka to pay some homage to old Nikolai, who's always talking about the stuff in game.
Reach for vodka tonight!
And then the other biggest advantage to using vodka in this, you can use any that you want to because it's all basically, you know, it tastes the same as in taste of nothing, so that you can add something to this drink to make it alcoholic without it affecting the flavor of the beverage that goes in it. With also, it doesn't really hurt the color at all either. We are going to be starting with the good old double tap root beer. Now, you don't know how bad I wanted to actually use root beer in this because I love root beer in general. The problem is in all the zombies, if most all the zombies, the drink itself is more of an orange color. So for that, there's nothing better than to just use whatever orange soda suits you fancy at the time, because, you know, we got all this quarantine garbage going on and just the COVID and the supply chains and everything else. So the only one I could find was Sunkissed Orange, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter. So that's what we're going to be going with for the drink. But first thing you're going to want to do is, if you're making these a little bit on the heavier side, you know, aka alcoholic, we are going to take and add this first, because by having this at the bottom, then when we pour in the actual soft drink itself or whatever other orange substitutes you want to use for it, you know, it's really up to personal taste. It'll help mix it in, and yeah, I mean, before you take and consume this, it'd be a good idea, even though it's going to be carbonated, just to, you know, rustle the bottle if it's been sitting for a while. But that's what we're going to do. First things first is adding the vodka. So now for me, the easiest thing I've found is just to use a mixing cup. It normally has, you know, a really fine pouring edge, so you can avoid spilling the stuff everywhere, just like not just for the vodka, but also for whatever your drink of choice is going to be, to cover it and to take up the majority of the bottle. For mine, I'm going to be adding exactly 2 ounces to the bottle. You can stick with the standard 1.5 ounces or even take her all the way up to 3, depending on, you know, once again, just your personal preference. Then we are going to take our orange soda. We're going to crack it open, get that carbonation going. And you don't have to use carbonated beverages, and one of my drink choices is not carbonated because it's the only color that I could find for it. And that is fine. I just think that it really adds to just the presentation of the drink whenever you open it. Especially if you had any plans on serving this, you know, with your friends or whatever, just having them around, just cracking it open makes it feel, you know, just like an actual drink. You know what I mean? It's like sealed, it was produced, it was meant to be bought, whatever. So just like that, we got the very first one done. We got double tap down. It's a beautiful orange color. I think that right there is just about as close as you could get to what is actually in the game. And I mean, I think it looks amazing. So the next step is to put a cap on it. So now in order to do that, these are not like screw top bottles. You're going to want to try to find bottles that are non-screw top for this. And I touched on that, you know, in the actual bottling process. But I bought this this bottle capper on Amazon. This right here was $15. I'll have links down to everything in the description that I possibly can. And then I got 144 of these silver caps for, I think, $7 or $8. Now, I went back and forth on trying to get colored caps that would match. The problem is I could only find assorted bundles, and between each assorted bundle, each one had like one cap color I needed, but then altogether I'd end up having to spend like $40-some, and I would end up with about 600 and some bottle caps that I was going to never use for anything. So I found that these was the closest like neutral thing that you could use that doesn't hurt the aesthetic of it, and you could also take and print out small circular versions of the main label and put it on the cap, and then that distracts away from anybody who's really going to get down to the nitty gritty about how it looks. But this is what you do. You take the cap. It's got a magnet right there. The magnet is not strong whatsoever, so you do kind of have to be somewhat precise with this, or it can like rattle its way off. So you go down, just eye level it, make sure everything's good to go. You pinch these clamps down, it grabs the side of the bottle. You push down, it goes completely horizontal, it goes flat. And then that's how you know you got it capped nice and good. And there you go. That right there is a double tap. Now, one thing to know that for the label paper that I used for this, it looks great and it works great because I didn't really want it to be like really glossy. But the thing that's good about the gloss paper is it's not really affected by water. And if this gets wet, it will run the color and discolor it a little bit, and that has happened on the edge of the neck label itself. So just keep that in mind. These are 100% reusable. Just try to be mindful of getting any liquids on the bottle themselves. It's going to happen, but you can just print out another page of labels, replace it. It's very easy, very simple. It seems like a lot of work and time consuming, and initially it is, but it's like after you do it, you can do it like pretty fast. Like you get it down pat really quick. And next up, let's hit up some of the good old Speed Cola. Now with this one, I was really disappointed because I tried really hard to find a green beverage that was not Mountain Dew. I hate Mountain Dew. Like, I just do not like the way it tastes. I got Diet Mountain Dew because I don't mind it quite as bad, and it still got that nice green color that we're looking for, and I know most people love Mountain Dew, so I thought that'd be the best way to go. I tried to find some kind of fruit drink, some kiwi, something or other. Just, I wouldn't care if it was cucumber, like if it was cactus, I wouldn't care. This is the only thing I could find that come anywhere close to what the actual color scheme was going for. So same thing, same order of affairs. We're going to start off with the 2 ounces of the good old Russian vodka. There we go, got that in there. So like I said, just for reference, that right there is about how much of the bottle it actually takes up. And we will take, and you can also just try to pour it in through the bottle opening itself. Like I said, with these, you don't want to get any liquid on the labels if you can help it, because it will make the colors run. So you know what, I'm actually a wee bit disappointed in that. That right there is not the exact color that I like to go for. So let me go ahead and just hit up that right there. That was the only green drink I could find at the moment. So this right here is what I was trying, this is what I wanted. So this right here is what we're using for the quick revive, okay? Now this is a punch, it's a Hawaiian punch, and it is the perfect color. And I also seen this in the red and orange, and it would have been great, but I wanted to try to stick with carbonated beverages. Like I said, this doesn't look horrible, but that is nowhere near the tint of green that we ideally need for Speed Cola. So that is unfortunate. I'm sorry about that. If you can find something like this in a darker shade of green, that's what you need to do. I just could not find it where I was at. So there's a sneak peek of what we're doing for Quick Revive beforehand. So now we do need to cap this bad boy, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's grab a cap right here. Take and stick it on our magnate. Now, it honestly helps if you go eye level. It makes it a lot easier, and you can be sure that you line it up properly. Then make sure you just go down, even pressure. There you go. I mean, that just doesn't look nowhere near as good as the other ones do from what I already know about the mix. And Mountain Dew is their only option, so that's what we had to work with. Since we already showcased it, let's just go ahead and hit up our Quick Revive soda, and we'll start off once again with the old good 2 ounces. Right, now time for the Hawaiian punch. Now this stuff right here ended up being just a beautiful shade of the appropriate color, because the thing that you get from like using these actual soft drinks and punches that you don't really get with food coloring is the cloudiness that the actual perks have, because I mean they're based off of and meant to be actual soda. So that's why I feel it's like the best bet to go with this. It's like people seem to want to overcomplicate the overall aspect of things when making these, and go with a lot of other alternatives when it comes to coloring options. Some more liquid on the neck label. That is unfortunate. I did not want to do that because it's going to dig up the actual after photography stuff I was going to do with it for the thumbnail. But you know what? It is what it is. That's part of the process. Is learning from the mistakes. So don't do that. So we're going to cap this bad boy off. See, just like this right here, you get faster with it, you get more comfortable. With this thing, every time I use it, I feel like I'm going to shatter the bottle, because it puts a lot of pressure on the side of the neck. But the bottles are designed to take it. So anyways, there you go. There's Quick Revive. I think, that just looks so good. That just looks spot on. And so does the double tap, really. I feel like the double tap can have a bit of a darkness to it, but anyways, let's go ahead and just cut to the final and the fan favorite, and the one that I just think is, it's everybody's favorite perk, and that's Juggernog. On the hatch goes the nice 2 ounces. Bada boom, there we go. Now, for the liquid for this, I got this Rip and Roaring Fruit Punch, because punch does seem to be about your best option in terms of color. But once again, I try to find things that's carbonated. So this is carbonated fruit punch, and it has a strange taste to it, in my opinion. But actually, once you mix it with the good old Russian, the Russian stuff, it kind of balances out and makes it like the way punch should taste. Maybe that's what this stuff's intended purpose was. Who knows? But it is heavily carbonated compared to the other stuff. I don't know if they trying to overcompensate for something there. Maybe that's what gives it its strange flavor, but it is a very red. So we're going to add that. If that ain't beautiful, I don't know what is. That is so awesome looking. I already know what it's going to look like, but it still looks amazing. So, time to cap the fourth and final one that we are doing right here. We'll have the 4 OG perks from COD Zombies on the table. Capped right there. No problemo, by God. If that ain't sexy, I don't know what is. So, right there, we have completed the 4 main perks from COD Zombies that I just stated multiple times. But they just look so good. I mean, the Speed Cola is, it's disappointing. It really is. There's not a lot I can say about that other than this was the best drinkable liquid of color that I could find. But it's still, I think it still looks dope. I got to take and figure out something to do about those neck labels getting liquids on them because that running in the front, it's not really, I got the double tap and that one. If anything, it gives it more of a warm. You know what? Actually, I bet that would look pretty dope if you done that intentionally. Because it makes it look, it gives it that warm look when the colors run a little bit. So I might actually experiment with that intentionally on some other ones. Because I am going to make more of these because I want to have like a set of 3. It's just about emptying the bottles of the beverages that have these exact bottles because these was the closest bottles I could find. That looked like the actual perk bottles because you can't buy them, at least not that I'm aware of. And I'm sure if you could buy them, these particular bottles, you have to buy like an insane amount of them in order to get any. So just buying the beverages that they come in is the way to go. So that's what we're going to do. Now, look, I'm not going to taste these. I'm not going to crack them open right now just because they taste exactly like what's in them. This right here tastes like carbonated fruit punch. This right here tastes like Hawaiian blue punch. This is Mountain Dew, and this is orange soda. So it tastes the same. There's nothing crazy. It's not like, people make, the one channel, How to Drink, he made these with like cocktails in them, and that's what I was referring to whenever I said, overcomplicated ingredients for the actual beverage. But that's the whole point. That's what his channel does. That's what he does, which is awesome. I love that video, and that's what really kind of pushed me over the edge to finally do these. But these actually look identical because he used miniature champagne bottles, really dicked up the overall appearance of them. But these right here, these are dope looking. So yeah, guys, that's it. I'm glad I finally was able to get this together and get all this stuff out. And so hopefully you guys can recreate these. If you do, let me know. I'd love to see them. Send links or just hop into my Discord server. I got a private Discord server for my gaming channel. And yeah, be sure to check out my other channels. Got an HQ channel where I do vlogs, exploring adventure stuff. And then I also have a shooting channel where we, we play with guns and bullets and we shoot stuff and have a lot of fun there. So I'm hoping that the next time I game, which is going to be here in about 30 minutes. Actually, no, I take it back. I got to edit this video, so it's going to take me like 2 hours. So after that, I'm gonna game, and then I'm gonna drink these. I'm gonna stick them in the fridge right now, and I'm hoping they give me special powers, special abilities. So yeah, guys, that's it for this one. I really hope a lot of you guys take and try to recreate these. And if you do, you enjoy them. Once again, make them without alcohol. You can serve them to kids, whatever. It's just an awesome thing if you have people that are into zombies. Because Cold War is dropping, later this year. So I hope they go back to the actual bottled Perk-A-Colas in Cold War. I'm sure they will, consider the time period and how that fits into the zombie timeline. But if they come out with any new perks for Cold War, I'm going to do this with them. As soon as that game drops, as soon as I see them, if that's something you guys would be interested in, and do another tutorial, especially if the bottles change. Because if the bottles change, I'll throw a curveball into all of it. But that's it for this one, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Hit me up in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share with your friends. And until the next one, adios.